Hey there everyone, Hitesh here, back again with another video. In this video, I would like to walk you through with the process of complete IT recruitment process or IT placement process that you will be facing very soon in your college life or probably will face later on in your college life. I believe that everybody should know about this process of getting recruitment in their college campus placement or outside or off-campus placement, whatever that is. But usually the process is almost the same. I think from the very first day of your college, somebody should just talk you through all of that. Sadly, colleges are not doing that, although every single student has to face this exact same scenario. But sadly, colleges are not talking about them. So here I'm going to be talking about all the IT placement process that usually most companies follow up. I will be talking about type of companies, how their recruitment process work in general, not very precisely. Also, what kind of preparation you should do, what kind of preparation material you should go through with that. And of course, sadly, I didn't want to include that in this video, but I would also be pointing out some of the dark sides of the companies as well as on the college side as well. Recently, we have been working with a variety of companies, 5 of them to be precise. One of them is a mass recruiter, and we are helping them to simplify their process of picking up the best talent that they can find in colleges. For that, we are just redesigning their entire recruitment process, their question bank, their process, their HR questions, and almost everything. And definitely we'll be working on with more companies in future. But right now, I have been talking with developers, with HRs, with college placement training officer. So I think I can act as a bridge and can discuss with students that this should be your entire process of preparing for those upcoming interviews. And I can talk a little bit on to that subject. So let's get started. First and foremost, I would like to generalize the companies into their categories, and then we'll talk a little bit onto that. Also, at the very end of the video, I'll talk about these dark sides and some of the things that HRs have specifically mentioned. These are the problems that they usually face while recruitment, so that you also are aware of these problems and can prepare yourself accordingly. So moving on to the part, what are the kind of companies? Now, I would like to say that these companies, according to me, I have divided during this entire process into 3 major categories. The first one are the big ones like Google, Facebook, Amazon. So if you happen to be in those colleges where companies like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Goldman Sachs, these all visit, then you are in the lucky one and you should prepare really, really hard because their interview process is extremely tough, but it's certainly doable, but it requires a little bit more time to practice. It's all about time. It's not like you can just walk into those companies on any given weekend and can get hired. It requires a lot of hard work. You need to prepare yourself for like 6 months or 8 months to make sure that you actually crack down onto the final level of the interview. So these are the big ones. The second ones are the mass recruiter ones. They happen to appear in all the colleges, especially in India, and they hire a lot of people. Now here is a quick word of caution. In case any mass recruiter is visiting to your college, make sure you are aware of at what position they are hiring you. Because sometimes colleges do totally skip this part and they don't tell the student specifically that for what position they are opening up. Probably you are a very good developer in Python and these companies are hiring probably for JavaScript. It is obvious that you might not be a good fit for that, or it's not really a great example. Probably they are looking up something for something operational manager and you want to work as a developer or probably as a network guy. Then obviously things are going to get conflict and it's not like this is going to be the last job on the planet. Certainly, if you love what you really like to do, you can look out for other companies and they definitely can hire you. One more thing about these mass recruiter company is something which is downside and kind of an internal secret, you can say. Many times these mass recruiter company hire people just to be sitting on the bench. Yes, they literally pay you to just sit down on a bench, watch the YouTube videos whole day, and they pay you really good for that. Now, why do they do so? Now, eventually these companies put further bids on getting various big projects, and on those projects, they need to show up what kind of strength or what kind of manpower they are having. And they use these bench resources in providing other bidding offers that we have this much of the strength and we certainly can do your project. Now, if this bidding of this bench or this bench strength is there for like 3 months, 2 months, it's totally fine and it's totally okay. But just remember one thing. If you are on a bench for a really long time, you're losing your edge. Because sitting on a bench, watching a YouTube and getting paid for that looks really amazing and can sound like a dream job. But eventually when you'll move into your 30s or 40s, you will be known for your cutting edge knowledge in the technology, whatever field you are working. You will not be known for watching a YouTube videos. So if you are just wasting your time sitting like for a year or 2 years just sitting on a bench, you're losing your edge. So don't be that guy. Watch very carefully that how much long you're gonna be there on the bench. This happens quite often in the mass recruiting company. One more thing, in the mass recruiting companies, sometimes you are hired for a job that can easily be done by a high school student, and you are paid for doing that kind of job. At first, it sounds absolutely amazing, but you are going to be working in a company with a mindset that says you're going to learn something there, because eventually, the more knowledge you have, the better it is for your life. So enough of the rage about these mass recruiting companies. Now let's move on to the third and one of my favorite ones is the startups. Now at first it might sound that, hey, what will happen if the startup just loses its edge or loses funding or just shutdowns? But one thing that you should know about the startups, that right now the condition of startups especially in India, are pretty amazing. They are well funded and they are going pretty good. And in case your startup fails or wherever you're working it fails, still you will be learning a lot, because in startup you are given more responsibilities as compared to the big companies. So you learn definitely a lot more. Now imagine the days of the Flipkart where just a few engineers were there designing their entire website and mobile. They were pretty much free to do whatever they like to do after a meeting. But this can be a really good scenario. So don't just look down on these startups. They can be really amazing point in getting friendly with the technology, and you will be learning at an insane crazy speed at this startup. So now pick up what kind of companies you want to work on, whether the big ones or the mass recruiting ones or the startup one or any others as well. So these are the basic overview. One thing that you should keep in mind, always look what profile you are getting hired. This is super important and this should never be neglected. At least you should know what kind of work you will be doing there. Now moving on to the placement process. Now placement process usually starts with an aptitude test. And yes, it's a truth not being shown to almost all the freshers or all the college people. Each and every individual company cannot process all of you. And when there is a job opening for like 5 people, almost 3,000 people apply for that, probably more than that. So yes, companies cannot process all of you. And their number one goal is just to filter you out. Yes, when I was in college, I used to think that they want to check my aptitude ability or my logical reasoning. Yes, that's like part of it, but probably like 5 or 10% of it. That 90% of the aim is to filter out the crowd there. So prepare for logical reasoning and for aptitude as well. That's usually the very first round. Now you don't need to go absolutely insanely crazy just like a competitive exam or a government exam. You don't want to do that. You just want to spend probably at a max of 2 weeks with books and online resources in preparing for those logical reasoning. Now one of the problems that we have seen in all these companies, that sometimes they get into the college and they see this quite a lot, that some people just put out all the B's or all the A's in their optional question sheet, and they feel really sad that if the person was not that much interested, why he is wasting our resources and just marking all the questions as B. So now in fact, the companies we are working with now, they are moving totally online so that they can give you an online resource where you can just log in into their website and can answer all these questions so that they can quickly figure out leaderboards and as well. Now one thing which a lot of HR have mentioned this, and this happens a lot, so I think I should brought it up. Now many times HR have mentioned that sometimes colleges, the teachers from colleges do prefer some of the students to move on to the next level, and they just check their answer sheet wrong, and sometimes HR just find it out and they just totally discard that student. So there is no fault of the student there. Probably he has done well or probably have done completely wrong, but it was no fault of the student because of the teacher's fault that they have checked the answer sheet wrong. The HRs get mad. So this is one thing I would like to point to all of the colleges. Please check your answer sheet as accurately as possible, because your job, do your job honestly. It's not like you should favor some student and some not. Please don't do that. Companies can figure it out later on. So this is one point I wanted to bring it up. So now most companies are moving on to the online resources where you can get an app or probably a website and can quickly just check your aptitude and all of that. And based on that, they can figure out who is performing at the top and can filter out the students. Now, one more interesting thing, most of the companies now are moving on to the negative marking as well, because this helps us in eliminating a lot of students, and like it or not, this is how things are going to be in the future as well. Now, almost most of the companies have moved into the negative marking, and once you point out any question wrong, you're going to get negative marking, so be extra cautious onto that. Now, once the aptitude round is done, then the next up comes up is the tech round. Now, this is not a technical in-person interview. This is again technical based MCQs in which you'll be asked the questions like what would be the output of this code, or this is the output, what could be the code for that? 4 sample codes are being written. Questions from stack, heaps, DSA, these are pretty common to be seen in these interviews. And yes, to be honest, for all the interview processes, questions from data structure and algorithms appears a lot. Now, also in some of the companies do like to check your SQL abilities as well. SQL abilities simply means SQL, standard query language. So sometimes they ask you that as well, but it's not that much common. DSA part is pretty common, and sometimes companies like to focus on Java based questions, sometimes JavaScript based question, sometimes C, and sometimes C++. It depends. So ask your training placement officer that what kind of companies will be coming to your college, what kind of language they used to prefer, or do your own research. So this is the one point. So this is also again same that you will be given. Previously it used to be that you have to get a sheet and then you have to tick mark on them. Now they are also getting rid of that, because first and foremost, checking up all these sheets is really tough. And let me tell you a sidebar secret. I have talked to a lot of HRs and they have said that they never ever check all of these answer sheet. They just pick up some random one and see if that passes the high score and just call that student. Yes, I know you are feeling bad that my answer sheet was not even checked, but yes, it happens more often than you think. This is the harsh reality, and I'm nobody here to judge. I'm just presenting you the fact that I have found out. So these technical rounds are also moving online, and you will be given an MCQ set based on Java, DSA, or C, C++, probably others as well. And you will be given questions on that, and again, negative marking will be there, and they can decide who is going to be the top 50 or top 25, just like that. So this is your second round, usually called as technical MCQ round or tech round, or just like that. Now after that, the next round actually depends on what kind of crowd that we have. Now sometimes the crowd is still not filtered, people have prepared really well and they want to just select some of the people. Now next round sometimes is a group discussion round. That is a little bit funny to have, that why they do even need a group discussion. But for some of the corporates, the company meeting and your input, how you present your facts, all these things are important, and they try to filter out some of the more students using these group interview sessions. Now these are not the group interviews, it's a group discussion. So make sure you have a little bit tips and tricks onto the group discussion. But again, trust me, group discussions are very less now, because due to strictness of these first two rounds, usually like 75 to 80% audience will be totally filtered out. Now, after all these things that you have faced, I know it's really exhaustive. Now, the next round that comes up is your tech interview round. One-on-one personal round, or also called as whiteboard round. Now, this can be a little bit scary, because usually in the technical rounds, they try to test you from ins and out. And all those people who have just prepared for aptitude or just these MCQs will definitely needs to be filtered out here, because eventually you'll be working on a product in a company, and that product might be based on JavaScript or Java or Python or any other language as well. And they really don't want to hire anyone who have no knowledge about the programming and their practical usage. So all of your project work, all of your subject knowledge is going to be very important here. Also, one more important knowledge is how you are taking the problem and your process of solving it. In these rounds, an interviewer will give you a question like, hey, these are the strings, and you want to manipulate some strings into that. So what they are looking forward very first is, what is your problem solving approach? If you are solving all that in your mind, that's not useful at all. They want to see how you think actually. So just do everything out loud. Don't do anything inside your brain. If you want to see that, hey, I would like to use this method on that and do this. So try to be as verbose as possible. Be more loud, be more explanatory. By loud, that doesn't mean that you have to shout out on them. No, please don't do that. But surely you might want to think out loud. Whatever you are doing on that whiteboard or piece of paper, just do it loud and let the interviewer know that this is your way, how you take down those problems, and this is how you go that. I have seen many times that some people who don't even reach the accurate solution, but their approach is really good in taking down that problem, do get selected. And yes, of course, in these tech questions rounds, some questions can be extremely tricky. And if you haven't prepared for these rounds and these common questions, it's really hard to just figure out a solution for them at this on the spot. It's really tough sometimes. One of the very common question that is usually asked to just break the silence is, what is your dominant programming language? And you have to pick up any one. Now, it doesn't matter if you are familiar with Java or Python or JavaScript. You can pick up any one of them, and the questions will be asked based on that. So you don't have to scare that I am learning JavaScript but companies are asking only for Java questions. You will be usually asked, because companies do understand that it's not about programming language, it's about your concept to solve that problem. Programming languages are just tools, because loops are same everywhere, functions are almost same everywhere, and once a person who knows the programming language and knows how to take down a problem actually knows really well to do it in Java and can do certainly in Python as well. So hopefully by the time you are done with the tech interview round, the criteria of your selection is going to be like 90%. You have cracked down the things 90%, only 10% is left. That 10% can be crucial or can be looked just like that. If you performed really well, your resume was exceptional, they have exceptional projects, and you have done just a killer job in your preparation in the entire college life, then surely that 10% is not going to matter much, because the instructions are clear from the tech round that we need this guy, don't just bash him in the HR round. So next round obviously comes up is the HR round. Now, if there are not subtle instructions from the tech round that we need this guy, and this happens quite a lot by the way, otherwise you will be asked some basic questions. I've already done a video on the common HR questions, and I'm no stylish expert here, but yes, HR do consider that what is your hairstyle, is your beard managed. Now, it doesn't really mean that you have to go clean shave, but it should be absolutely managed for all the boys. Girls already know how to do styling and stuff. It's usually the boys who mess around with the stuff. So just make sure you're appearable and you look decent. It's not about what kind of color or shirt you're wearing. It should be decent. That's the whole story. There are other hundreds of YouTube channels who can walk you through the interview clothing and all of that. I'm not gonna do that. Certainly look out for other resources for that. But I've already done a video on the common HR questions and what are their intention behind hiring and asking that question basically. So you can definitely check that out video on my YouTube channel. Okay, so this is like the basic overview. Certainly I'll take up each and individual round and will walk you through with the detailing process of that. Now, I have mentioned in the description section one of the free resource where you can find out what are these common questions that are usually asked based on DSA or Python or Java. I have linked a free resource. You can take that quiz and can figure out what the preparation you should be doing up. It's absolutely free. You can take advantage of that as well. Now, moving on to the part, I would like to mention one dark secret that I have found out, and probably a lot of college people are going to dislike that based on that. Now, we were into the middle of getting a slot into a college for a hiring process, and it was all good. We were talking to this training and placement officer, and what he said to us, what he was trying to discuss with us was absolutely bizarre, and it happens quite more than you think. We have faced it a number of times. So what was the thing that we were representing a company and we were trying to get a slot for recruitment process, and the problem that we faced is these recruitment placement officers sometimes don't even ask that for what profile you are hiring. They just say, oh, this is a big company, we want you to call. And we say, are you not going to ask or what profile we are hiring? They just say, no, it doesn't matter, just hire anybody or on any profile, it doesn't really matter, just come on to our company, come on to our college and just hire. Okay, we said probably he is too much excited about that and it's totally fine. And then we said, we just need 6 people to be hired from your college. And he said, why only 6 people? Hire at least 10. I said, what kind of thing is that? We just need 6 people. We want 6 people and that's the end. Probably we are going to hire 5 of them because we are very strict on the criteria here. He said, no problem, I'm going to give you best of our college students and all of that. And then he said a very bad line. He said, instead of hiring 6, I'll give you like 6 more free people from our college. Just give them an offer letter, call to your campus, take them as an intern. They will be working for free for 6 months and then you can just throw off from the company. We felt really bad that just for taking the name of the college that we are providing 100% placement guarantee, they are doing this kind of bad practices there where they are motivating companies to just take the people from their college and just provide them an offer letter and later on just throw them down. It's certainly a bad practice. But since companies see a lot of profit there, that so many people are going to come up into our campus, will be doing free work without even having asked to pay them. It's really, sometimes companies do that, and I think it's a fault of totally of placement officer to provide such kind of offer. We felt really bad for that. So make sure you're also aware of this as a student. I think you should know this, that yes, this happens a lot. Sometimes your college placement officer forces the company to hire more people and just give them a resignation later on. So it's something which I felt really is bad, and it's the dark side of the college. Probably a lot of college people from the training placement officer are going to dislike this video. But certainly in the upcoming videos, I'll talk about more dark sides. We're already like on 30 minutes of the talk on this placement process. I'll probably talk about this in later on videos. Just wanted to share this thought. And of course, don't forget to check out the link in the description section where I have mentioned a free resource on preparing for these interviews. This video is going to be super helpful for all the beginners. If you are senior in any college, I highly recommend to help your juniors by sharing this video so that at least they can be aware of this entire process, and from the very first day they can start preparing for them. Again, very big note that it's not about the entire preparing for aptitude and all these tricky questions. At the end of the day, your skill is going to matter a lot. Your projects, your portfolio is going to matter a lot, because once you get hired, it's the work that you have to done. It's not about these tricks. I know it's a very, very long video, but this all need to be done in just one video, and probably in the future videos, I would like to just break them apart and we'll walk you through with the entire process step by step. So do let me know in the comment section, should I be doing it or not? Just let me know honestly with that. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to check out the link in the description section, and I'll catch you up in the next video.